Good morning. Let's get started for sunrise yoga. We're going to start on our backs today. So let's just come down. Knees are going to be tented and really just any distance apart that feels comfortable where you let effort go into your hips and legs. So that might be a little wider and letting knees fall together. They might fall out more towards a Baddha Konasana. But just getting settled in here so we have this opportunity to kind of wake ourselves up with some breath. Let's bring both hands to our low belly. When I say low belly, I want you to kind of feel around, even locate your hip points that are right above your hip creases. And bring fingers together very low, like right around your hip points. Just let yourself settle in. Let breath be natural here for a couple moments. Notice if shoulders need to find some ease or anything else in your face or neck. Start to get a sense of where you feel your breath this morning. When I say that, I mean, like, is there just your chest moving? Is belly moving? Is there slight movement underneath your fingers? It's always that natural breath can look different in all of us. Through yoga, we look to expand, use our entire torso to breathe more naturally. Let those inhales become deeper. Makes our lungs stronger, more sustainable for small things throughout the day and large things throughout the day. But most importantly, that breath can really guide our energy level throughout the day. So we're going to go through about 10 breath cycles here, and I want you to really start to make that breath more expansive. Try to take 10 of the deepest breaths that you, I would say for sure, have taken yet today. Just going to give you some time. So let that inhale happen. See if you can draw those muscles to open up with each breath in that are underneath your hands. Slow, steady exhale. And turn around and take that inhale right away again. If you have an Ujjayi breath in your practice where it's that ocean type wave, feel free to incorporate that in this breath as well. What happens if you try to take a little extra breath now at the top of that inhale? What does that feel like? And I'm only about halfway through my 10 breaths. I'm not sure where you're at, but so I'm going to use that as your gauge. Continue to take deep breaths. If you're ahead of pace a little bit, that's okay. When you complete those breaths, let's just pause, let breath become natural again and get a sense for what's happening in our body and our mind. And all that yoga practice is about really doing that work inside with our physical body and also our mental body. It's uniting everything into some steadiness. I'm going to take both legs long onto the mat, hands overhead, take a full body stretch. Pull knees into chest, rock right to left. As imagine if this is how we woke up every day. It's like, this is kind of a nice way to wake up. This all can be done in our beds. Consider that, even if it's just taking 5 breaths deeper before you kind of start moving. Let's extend left leg long, pull right knee into chest, draw nose up to knees. And switch sides, pulling left knee in, extending right leg long, nose to knees here. Pull both knees into chest, hold on to the back of your legs and rock up to seated. You guys are feeling pretty good already. Let's roll shoulders around in circles, forward and back. Take hands down by our sides. Left hand comes up overhead. Feel this stretch first through the left side, expanding through the rib cage. Feel free to look underneath that left arm. Switch sides. And expand through that rib cage. Reach a little extra. Come back to center. Hands on knees. Take some circles over your lap. And think spinal roll here. So rather than just rocking in our sit bones, get the vertebrae in your spine moving, circling around. Well, I even got a good old crack this morning. That's yay me. All right, walk hands forward. Let the head come down towards the floor. Instead of holding this static stretch, we're just going to walk hands right to left a few times. So just take them back and forth, finding a little extra length each time in those fingers. When you're even, let's come back up to center, hold, and just breathe. A couple of those deeper breaths that we found lying on our backs earlier. Let's come on to hands and knees. Feeling warm enough? We're going to take this layer off. Let's square off for hands and knees. Wrists are under shoulders, knees under hips. Tops of our feet are resting on the mat so that shins become really close to the ground. So be intentional with the fronts of your ankles. Try to push them into the earth. Breathe here with this neutral spine. Draw navel slightly in so the low back isn't arching towards the floor. And finding that space to breathe deep to where we felt our hands earlier. Let's add movement to those breaths. Cat cow. Inhale, drop belly, gaze up. Spend an extra time here arching the back just for this first one. Gaze up. Round spine, cat stretch, tuck chin. Stay really connected to the fronts of those ankles, pushing towards the mat today. All right, 3 to 5 more. Just breathe each movement. Inhale, drop belly. Exhale, round spine. See what happens if you try to take those deeper breaths here as you move. Really make that expansive. When you're ready, find neutral spine again. Again, that's belly button gently drawing in to stay engaged. And I think I've used this cue in this class before where it feels like someone might come up and poke you in the ribs or tickle your sides, that you might engage the core. Get that sense there in your core here. Extend toes out onto the mat, tuck them under and stretch out the bottoms of your feet. Is a really nice thing about this shape when your leg is extended, it's about perfect for your plank setup. We're just going to extend that left foot out really quick. Not hold for long, but notice how you can go right into a nice plank. It's really good form. Lower back down on that left knee. Keep the right extended. And extend the left hand out. The back toes are still on the mat on that right foot. Keep looking down at the ground. You can stay there or start to lift right foot up. Finding some balance. Try to keep toes pointing down towards the mat. Exploring that deeper breath here, maybe Ujjayi breath. One more breath cycle. Return to hands and knees. Find that neutralness. Just notice any differences in the two sides of your body. Extend left toes out. Keep them tucked under. Stretch through the bottom of your foot. And navel continues to draw in. Extend right foot out to plank. Nice breathe. Nice breath. Lower down to right knee. Extend right hand long. And staying there or lifting left toes up off the mat. Notice tension come up in jaw. Release that by breathing. Come back into tabletop. Sway hips side to side. Find any other movements, maybe barrel rolls. You can return to cat-cows. What does your spine need here this morning? All right, find tabletop again. Tuck toes here and lift hips up into down dog. Pedal out feet side to side. Step the right foot forward. Lower down to left knee. Untuck the toes on the back foot. Press that ankle into the ground. Lift arms up. Into a lunge. First step here, we've got hips, shoulders, fingers stacked. One on top of the other, palms face each other. Gaze up. Then notice what happens when you start to lean forward. Maybe arch through that back, open up through the heart. Just gaze forward with that lunge. And then bring left hand down to the mat into twist. Towards that right knee. Find length fingertips to wrist. Reach behind you, gaze behind you. Bring that hand down to the mat. Tuck toes, lift hips up, down dog. Step forward with left foot. Lower down to right knee. And untuck those toes, glue the front of your ankle into the mat. It's a nice anchor. Reach hands up. See what it feels like to stack hips and shoulders and hands. Gaze up between fingers and lean forward. Arch back any bit. Gaze forward, bring right hand down, left hand stays up into your twist. Reach behind you. Circle that hand around to the mat, tuck back toes, down dog. Try to hold a static stretch here and breathe into belly. Bend knees, gaze forward, step to the top of your mat. Grab opposite elbows, forward fold. Sway right to left. Let the head fully be heavy here, releasing any tension from our neck. Release fingers to the floor, bend knees generously. Rounded spine to stand. Chin untucks last. Find Tadasana. Wiggle toes. Maybe try to spread them out on your mat a little bit, creating space. Unlock knees and just soften them and create some length all the way from the ground to the crown of the head. Breathe deep into the low belly. We're going to bring hands to hips here. I'm going to turn sideways so that we can see kind of what I'm doing. So I'm stepping this right foot back, probably 3 feet for me, but staying hip width apart like I'm on train tracks. Both knees are straightening. If you feel unbalanced here, actually I feel a little unbalanced, so I'm going to bend my front knee slightly for a little stability. Just unlocking it. And then even if you feel unstable here, widen your feet to the right and left on the mat. Nice tall spine again, and the hips, shoulders, hands stacked. Gaze up between hands here. See how our balance is once we lift that gaze. Breathe deep into belly. And then left hand goes to your hip. Yep. And my balance here. So now with right hand, we're going to reach like there's something on a shelf in front of us that we want to get. So we're going to hinge at our hips, reach that right hand as far as we can. Pause when you feel like that hamstring on the left side isn't going to give anymore. Look down at your toes. And you reach a little further with that right hand. See what happens if we extend left hand out right next to the right hand. Breathe into low belly here. It's adding a lot of load to that leg, but keep that inhale and exhale coming. Let's go back up. Keep those hands right squared off around the ears. Lift to stand. Gaze up between fingers. Hands come down by sides. That's good fire already. Step forward. Find Tadasana. All right, hands to hips, step left foot back. Let's do that same setup here. Just making it comfortable for you. Toes are pointing forward. Unlocking that front knee. Reach hands up overhead. Gaze up between hands. Some days you might feel really balanced here. Other days it might feel off. So just exploring that. Right hand comes down to hip, look forward. Again, reach left fingertips forward as you hinge at your hips. Looking for tabletop back. If that doesn't happen, that's okay. And reach left fingers even further. What we're going for is some length from the crown of our head out our tailbone. Can you draw that navel in? And extend right hand like you're holding a ball overhead. Take a couple breaths. You breathe deep into belly here, not just chest. Slowly come up. Hands down by sides. Step forward. Nice inhale, reach hands high, and exhale, forward fold. Head bows, hang heavy. Bend knees, plant hands, step back. Find that nice plank this morning. Hold for a bit of strength. Lower down to knees, lower down to belly. Baby cobra, peel chin and chest up. Keep elbows hugging in by sides. Forehead comes down. Do one more baby cobra here. Push pelvis into the mat. Lower. Push up into tabletop. Rock pose. Let hips come back towards heels. Forehead down to the mat. Tabletop. Down dog. Is what if we created that same sense for down dog that we had as we were lunging forward, reaching forward. So a lot of length from your hands out your tailbone. Spine is long, ribs knit together. So get a sense for that here. We're gonna go back and recreate that shape from standing, but see how those two kind of tie together. Bend knees, gaze forward, step to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bow. Rise, reach up. Come to stand. Tadasana. Length from feet out the crown of your head. Just a couple more things we're going to be mindful of as we take those moves. Our ribs here, we want them stacked, belly slightly engaged. The ribs are knit together, so we have this nice neutral spine. Just think of your skeleton here for a moment and what a skeleton looks like when it's hanging from one of those things in a biology lab. So just think about hanging right from the crown of your head. Everything else just hangs out in neutral below the skull. Nothing's forced or protruding. All right, hands to hips, step right foot back. Right hand reaches overhead. Hinge forward, find length through the entire body. Engage into your tailbone. Reach as far forward as you can. And if it felt like too much load to bring both hands forward, you can stay here this time, hand on hip, or take left hand forward as well. Notice kind of that relationship between the right leg and your upper body, that angle. And just for fun, we're gonna flip the palms forward. So bend your wrists like you're pushing a wall away from you. Really engage out the tailbone now. If you're holding your breath, breathe. Straighten fingers and wrists. Come up, hands overhead. Hands come to waist. Step forward. Pause with Tadasana, hands down by sides. Right, hands return to hips, step left foot back. Heel down on the ground. Left hand reaches high. And feel squared off in your pelvis. Hinge forward. Lifting with your tailbone. Checking in with those ribs. How do they feel? And spine straighten, and that might mean you hinge less. Just try to keep the head by, or hand by your bicep. Let's see, bicep by your ear. Step forward. So lots happening. We've got really strong spine. We've got breath into low belly. Flip palms. Pretend you're pushing a wall away from you. Straighten wrists, slowly rise up to stand. Hands come down by side, step forward. This is really good hamstring stuff, right? You're like, why do you work us so hard? Grab a drink of water if you need, or just find some stillness in Tadasana. Grab some coffee, whatever your jam is this morning. All right, inhale, reach hands high. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And bow. Bend knees, plant hands, step back to your plank. Hold plank for a few breaths. All right, so yogi's choice here. If you want to take it back down to baby cobra, let's do that. If you want to take a chaturanga flow to down dog, take that option as well. So let's exhale, lower yourself. Maybe chaturanga, up dog, and down dog. Once you're in down dog, think of the shapes that we're creating. They're kind of all tied together. Length from the shoulders. Rib cage is neutral. So think about when we hang, again, from the crown of our head, what the upper body feels like. So maybe you have to bend knees here to kind of create a flatter upper body. Awesome. Nice. All right, bend knees, gaze forward, step to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bow. Inhale, rise, reach up to stand. Hands down by sides. All right, let's return hands to hips here. Instead of stepping back this time, we're building warrior 3. So from here, I'm gonna put all the weight into our left foot. Make sure toes are pointing forward. Double check in with this big toe mound here as well, because I want you to put weight here if you start to feel imbalanced into that left foot. All right, what does it feel like hanging from that little skeleton? Again, belly, core contracted, like someone's coming up beside you, gonna poke you. Let's slide the right foot slightly back behind us. And when we do that, toes are gonna lift, that foot is lifted, and we hinge just barely forward. Trying to keep that same neutralness to our upper body. You can already start to feel some load here. See if you can extend right hand overhead. Watch for any twisting through shoulders. All right, you can stay here. Or if you want to start to hinge, you can just hinge on that left hip, making your way towards warrior 3. Feeling unbalanced today, but it's okay to be wobbly and reset. You don't have to be perfect in this warrior 3. We're just exploring this shape. I think energy from fingers out that back foot.
You can also extend right hand overhead at any point, or left hand rather, so both are forward. And that's a lot of work. So now we're gonna come up to stand, hands down by our sides. Guys, this is awesome hamstring and glute work, which sometimes get overlooked in our yoga classes. So really starting to fire those today. All right, hands to hips. Long spine, engaged core. Put all the weight into the right foot. Slide that left foot behind you just to hover. Hinge at your waist into that right hip. Left hand reaches overhead. Find a little bit more bend. Just taking it to where you want. Where you feel a little challenged. And when you're ready, extend right hand overhead. Slowly come up. Ooh. Hands down by sides. Find a flow. Inhale, reach hands high. Forward fold. Halfway lift. And bow. Bend knees, plant hands, step back to plank. Again, yogi's choice for flow. Making your way to your down dog. And be intentional with your shape in down dog. And considering keeping those knees bent at all times, if we can find that long spine. All right, take right leg high. Bend knee, open up through right hip, stack hips if possible. Find some movement in your hip, in your ankle. Like, what do hip circles feel like here? As much movement as you can find. Straighten that leg. Step forward to a lunge. Right knee is bent, left knee lifts. Sweep hands, high crescent lunge. And come into that back bend. Open up through heart. Look forward. See what it feels like to try and launch into your warrior three shape. And in order to do that, we want to get our chest really as close to our thigh as possible. So we're energized from fingertips out that back leg. You can almost pick that leg up behind you. All the leg weight is into that right foot. And pick it up. Warrior three. In all of its unbalancedness some days, which is awesome. Just practicing. Come back to your lunge. Notice chest is really close to that thigh. Hands come down, down dog. My favorite is like hearing us not take ourselves too seriously sometimes. Like you just got to laugh sometimes at ourselves and have fun with it. All right, left leg goes high. Then knee open up through that side. What does it feel like to breathe into low belly here as you find that movement? Straighten that leg. And step forward, low lunge. Inhale, high crescent. Strong bend in that front knee. Come into back bend. And return forward. All right, now hinge, prepping for warrior three. Think fingers are reaching as far forward as you can. Can you get really buoyant in that back foot? And then pick it up. Straighten front leg. Breathe here into low belly. Return to lunge. Hands to the mat, step back, down dog. Pedal out feet here. Look to get some more length through the backs of your legs. Sway hips side to side. Think hamstring stretch here. How do you engage hamstrings a little bit more into a stretch? Walk hands back to feet. Take your forward fold at the back of your mat. Grab opposite elbows, head hangs heavy. Going for a back release, hamstring release. I want you to feel this in the back of your legs, and your glutes. From this forward fold at the back of our mat, just gonna try to keep the upper body loose as you walk to the center of your mat. Just a few steps to walk. You don't need to even use your hands, just step forward with your feet. Take feet wider, about mat width apart. Bring hands down to the mat, sink into yogi squat. Elbows between knees, nice long spine. Pausing here for a couple breaths. Breathe deep into belly. Put hands behind you, come to seated spot. Baddha Konasana, feet together, knees out wide. Hold on to your ankles or your feet. You bop those knees around a little bit. Find your sit bones. You rock around, remove any flesh out from underneath those sit bones. It feels like it might be in the way. Long spine and just hinge forward into a fold. Let's come back up. So what happens if we take this fold from the same premise that when we were standing, we've got this energy from the crown of our head, straight spine, neutral shoulders. So now watch what that movement does. So we're rocking into our hips here. So let's bring feet away from us a little bit. And then you're going to hinge into those sit bones and hip creases, trying to keep that upper body completely in a neutral spot. Breathe into low belly. At any time you feel yourself like forcing or rounding, just be recognizing that and try to back out. Return to that length in your spine. Relaxing shoulders and jaw. This isn't about what the final pose looks like. I want this to feel like you're moving with a long spine. So take it still, breathe easy, deep into your belly. Come back upright. Extend legs out into a V. Right hand goes to the inside of right foot. Reach over into side stretch. It's okay to have a C shape in your spine here. Look underneath left arm. See if left hand can grab big toe or not. Come up to center. Slide left hand to the inside. Take the side stretch the opposite way. And try to reach for your toes. Even if you're not going to connect with those toes, that helps lengthen through right side. Look underneath arm. Come back to center. Draw feet together. Make a tight little ball, nose to knees here. Think back stretch. So how can you round into your spine here to take a little extra stretch? Release hands. Keep spine rounded as you roll down to your back. Just kind of toggle knees off side to side. Tee off your arms. Just gentle twisting right to left. Giving yourself a little massage in your glutes, low back. Pause at center if you want to take one more tight little ball. Then release out into Shavasana. Taking up some space on your mat, hands come off your mat. Maybe feet can come off your mat too. Connect right away with that deeper breath. After 2 or 3 of those breaths, just let yourself go. Breath will be natural. Entire body is at rest. Release any tension that you're still may find or come across. Any movement, whether that's in your thoughts or body. Find stillness, slowness. When you're ready, let's start to take a couple deeper breaths again. Pull knees into chest. Rock right to left. Yogi's choice if you want to rock and roll up to seated spot or roll off to your side first. Find your path to a seated spot on your mat. Soften every muscle in your face. Even though those muscles are free of stress, find some length in your spine. Again, thinking today about the upper body in particular and that shape it takes and what it looks like throughout your day. At times where you feel a little tired, run down or discombobulated. Returning to that sense of the long spine, upper body, and deep breath into low belly. Let's take hands out and up overhead. Palms come together and down to heart, head bows. Thanks so much for waking up with Sunrise Yoga. I hope your day is amazing. Namaste.